Welcome to Mandorla. We humbly invite you on a journey with us as we explore and deep dive in what it means to be human through this great time of awakening, generously sharing wisdom and practical tools that have helped us on our path of ascension, introducing other conscious leaders within our community to expand the collective mind to new possibilities.
Mandorla inspires us to become balanced in body and soul, feminine and masculine, physical and spiritual, creating a bridge between heaven and earth. Within this podcast, we will be communicating with all parts of ourselves, understanding our true essence, discovering our life's calling, transforming and healing ourselves and the people around us. Without further ado, let us begin. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Mandorla. I am Katrina and this is Katrina, and on today's episode we are going to be getting to know a little bit more intimately and personally Katrina McKechnie. So I have had the privilege of living life by your side for quite a few years now. And we have grown and we have evolved and we have become who we are together, separately and together. And I'm really, really excited for our audience to get to know more of you today. So showcase a little bit about what I know I'm proud of you in regards to, but also I feel like there's a lot that I can also learn further about you today. So excited for that. So Katrina McKechnie, mother of two, amazing wife, but so many different roles you take on in this lifetime. Not that we like to define ourselves in any way, shape or form. So first of all, I would really love to start with, if you don't mind, talking a little bit about, in this moment today, what you feel passionate about.
I feel like my biggest passion in life right now is balance. Everything is like about coming into balance within myself and creating then external balance in my reality. So I feel like that's something that, like, every day I get up is a part of what creates my day. It's like a theme that I feel like every day I take into the day, and I'm highly aware of when things are out of balance in my reality, and then I go into working it out. I think what I'm really passionate about as a person is growth. And so I have these things like balance is really loud to me right now. I have these themes that show up that allow me to experience more growth. What else is possible? And I think that that's a big catalyst of what I'm here to do. What else? Like, what else after that? And I think that's the thing that brings me joy, is like moving through that and realizing that there's even more possible in this lifetime. Yeah. That's what excites me. I couldn't ever even imagine having a life where it just is what it is. And I know that every day I'm waking up to the same thing. That would not excite me.
So Are you an open book at the beginning of the day, or do you have some insight into kind of where you're going?
Well, I think that I'm given, it's so multifaceted. Like, for example, last night and the night before, my dreams have been super vivid. That doesn't happen all the time, but usually that will then lead me into the day and I'll be like, oh, this came into my dream state last night. What am I looking at today in that area? So it's forever changing. I basically use my reality to better understand myself, and the dream state is a separate reality that we co-create with. Like the matrix in our living existence, it's the same in the dream state. So for the last 2 days, I've been working with my dreams, and then that's what then takes me into the day. So I kind of don't have in my mind a preconceived idea of, this week, this is what I'm going to be looking at. However, there are structures that this last week I've been exploring. So Monday to Sunday, there's 7 days and 7 chakras. So I've been playing with that in the last week, and that has brought me so much excitement, because I'm like, Mondays are my admin days, and they're my, getting stuff done for my businesses and structuring my week like for the family, and I'm like, oh, I've got that in root chakra. I think I want to change that. Day 2, maybe my third eye, where it feels like more expansive. And so I've been playing a lot with that this week as well. And so that came about in a conversation, and then I was like, oh, love that. And then I've been exploring those things as well. So I never know what's going to happen.
It doesn't sound
I'm
ever
pivoting
boring,
all the time.
right?
There's no... Yeah.
So very creative, and then that changes. So you might play with those chakras for a while and then sort of change your creative flow with how
I
you do
feel
life.
like my body's taking me on that path to receive and become an embodiment of that, so that my body just naturally knows on those days that that's what's going to occur. And so I'm in full alignment with so many things. I feel like when I'm talking about like what else is possible, when I create rhythms and understandings and integrate that, then my body naturally creates the perfect situations to come to me on those days to support whatever it is I'm doing. So on a Tuesday, it's Mandorla and illuminating light, and that's the solar plexus. So I know that whatever we're doing is going to be all to do with creativity, you know? And so that excites me, because then when things in my reality start showing up, I'm like, oh, how can I utilize this for my creativity? So, yeah.
So it sounds like you've got your creating your life down to like a fine art right now. Has that always been the case, or when did you start to consciously create your life?
Yeah, absolutely not always been my life. The way that I'd probably like to explain it is that I was in the back seat for most of my life. And I then stepped into the driver's seat when I started realizing that what's going on internally is reflected externally. And when I was able to get that understanding and that lens or way of viewing things, I was able to actually start consciously creating with my reality. And so that probably came about 4 years ago, when we both attended Jules' workshop, that really became like, oh, this is how I live now. And that is a huge part of how I opened up to consciously seeing everything. But prior to that, I would say that I've always had a problem with the victim, but I would say looking back that I was in the life's happening to me, not for me. And I think that, like one of the best things I've ever done is step into this. And I was privileged to be able to do that alongside you so that we could navigate that together, because it's so much more empowering. It's made me so much more empowered. And if I take it back to like my life's journey is always wanting to grow, this is like sped that timeline up so quickly for me, because I feel like being aware that I have the power to create the change allows me to open up to all those possibilities, which I wasn't open to before, because I thought that situations were happening outside of me and that I couldn't have any, part in that. I just had to deal with it when it hit my reality, as opposed to now being curious.
So where's the desire come from to always want to keep growing? What do you know about that?
I don't believe that we have like one purpose. I don't think that we come down and we're like, this is our purpose, and if we're just doing that, we're going to be completely content. I believe that we have many purposes and many contracts that we come down with. This wanting and desire to grow and understand things and expand myself further is a part of who I've been ever since I was born. Like, it's always been my direction. And back before consciously understanding it, I didn't know why that was happening. I didn't know why I was, I guess, the black sheep, or why I chose things differently. But if I were to, and hindsight's a beautiful thing, reflect back, I've always been on the path of growth. So what I feel to be true in this moment, and my truth changes all the time, but what I feel to be true is my contract that I chose in this lifetime was one of acceleration. Like it wasn't one of I want to do this lesson and I want to do that lesson. It was like a speed up contract. And I think that all my lifetimes have contributed to me, like embodying all the gifts that I needed to, so that when this lifetime happened, it went, which didn't really come on board until I would say, so I'm 40 at the end of this year, so 36, like really didn't come on board. But since then, the speed of which I've moved through things has gone at such a fast pace. However, prior to, getting into spirituality and understanding consciousness, I've always had the ability naturally to seek healing for myself, or ways of healing. So there was always growth there, regardless of whether I was consciously aware of it or not. My path's always taken me on that way for growth.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like I get excited about it.
Yeah.
It's not like dragging my feet going, oh, I've got to grow. Like I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I want to grow. What else is possible? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess the timeline just fit then from when you said that you started this journey of consciousness to, when you know you're the creator, I guess that's the fulfillment of growth, right? You know where growth takes you. So what do you think to this point it has been your greatest achievement with the growth, with the conscious growth?
I feel like one of my highest values in my life thus far has been my family dynamic. And coming from a family dynamic in my childhood, that was a little bit harder. I really had this like, I really want to fix those things. Fix is not the word. I really don't like that.
Transform?
Transform. I really want to create change in my family that is a legacy that I leave behind, that people know that the reason they're living the life that they're living is because great-grandma Trina took out a whole chunk of that work. Like that for me, and my belief system that we do it reincarnate back into the lineage, that for me is, it's a real why, and it's mainly to do with the family dynamics. Like I also am super, super passionate about sisterhood. I feel like there's something in that like I absolutely love. Like it's a drive. It comes up in my reality all the time on how to create even deeper connections with sisters. That's like really big for me, but my number one would have to be my family. And so I think like that for me, and witnessing the changes in my children because they are my lineage, is the most rewarding thing that like I will ever feel. Yeah. It's not like I have quite an abundant life, but I feel that's really material. I love it. I am not going to reject that, but they're not the things that get my heart feeling like so complete. It's the things like witnessing my children, like my child, for example. We had book week last week, and I was such a introverted, shy, like crippling shy person. And witnessing my daughter hop out of the car, have a bit of a wobble because she's in her outfit and she looks different and people are going to be looking at her, that would have rocked my world as a kid. And then she's like, oh, I'm a bit nervous, Mum. And I was like, you think you've got it, Bart? And she's like, yeah, I've got it. And like shuts the door and then just like struts and then does like a twirl in the middle of the street on the pathway. And I'm just like, yes, like I've healed that. Like I've healed that part of me. And I allow myself to shine now. As a child, like absolutely not. So witnessing things like that, like I'm like, boof, they hit my heart and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore your parenting style and how independent that you have allowed your children to grow up to be, like so beautiful and nurturing. They know that you're always there, but so self-sufficient. Like I've got this. I also know Mum's there. Like I absolutely adore that. And I think that's something as every parent us is striving for, right? That balance, that's your passion. So I think that this is coming full circle into absolutely something to celebrate your achievement of creating that balance. They know they've got it themselves, but they also know that mum's got their back. So I absolutely love that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I can vouch for your values being in the home, and I think that's what we both stand for, is that everything starts from the home, right? Those core relationships, and something we've both worked on is cultivating those relationships within self, right? So parenting ourselves and being a sister to ourselves. And when you spoke into sisterhood, like what you mean is like female friendships, right? Yeah, so absolutely love the safety that you cultivate and provide everyone with that. So, but I do want to touch back on balance. Balancing, and today we're really like talking about the journey of becoming who we are as we sit as this version. Probably I'd probably say our most evolved versions of ourselves here today.
Yep.
What do you think the biggest aspect that you've had to work on with balance is?
It's the masculine and the feminine, definitely. And it's still a work in progress for me. There's still, because it's not just in my physical body, it's in the collective, and it's in the way like that we have, it's in our ancestral lineage. Like it's like generation after generation, we've lived a certain way that has been so out of balance that when I'm working it on in me, when the collective's not there yet with it, like the resistance of like falling back into like old ways of doing things that are out of balance, because we have as a collective been out of balance for so long, can really like make it hard for me. So I don't think I'm 100% consciously doing my part in the collective, but I think as more and more people have this wake up in them, and the more and more that other people are finding balance, the more it's going to be easier for us. So I don't see it as a final destination so much, like, because I would love for that to be the case, but I know that I'm working with something much wider than just myself here. So it's breaking conditioning and belief systems and programming, and, you know, like I'm breaking through a lot of things. And so, yeah, I guess it kind of lightens that load for me a little bit. And I'm like, I'm learning this still, you know, like I'm not there yet. But I will say that I have had mammoth amounts of healing in the process of being on the path of balancing this within self. And I don't see them as anymore. And I guess this is just the stage I'm at with understanding it. The internal masculine and feminine, I guess at one point I seen it as separate and outside of me. So I would look at my husband and say he's a masculine, and I'd say I'm a feminine. And then I realized that it's actually a quality that we have within us, and we both have masculine and feminine internally, and they aren't separate. So another layer of looking at it outside as one form of being separate, and then internally I was still looking at them as separate, but they're actually in co-creation simultaneously. They're not a separate thing internally. So when I show up today, right now my masculine is supporting me to have this conversation, while my feminine allows me the voice to just flow with the conversation. So they're not, my masculine does this and then my masculine checks out and then my feminine walks in. It's not that at all. It's always a co-creation at the same time. And so even in that and finding balance in that, like there's so many different aspects of finding balance within this genre. But it has probably been my biggest learning. And I'm a Libran. So I am the scale. So I'm already been born into a path of wanting to balance things. So when things are out of balance for me, as opposed to other people, it really rocks my body. So it's like, it really forces me to like step into, I have to balance this. Like I have to find balance. It gives me the urge or the passion, because I'm not myself when I'm not feeling balanced.
Okay. So give us an example of probably something that's highlighted that you've had to shed to bring yourself back into balance. So one thing you've had to let go of.
God, there's so many. My mind's going racing to all of them at the moment. So for myself, like within the imbalancement was what is typically in our collective, I was more in the masculine.
Yeah.
So some people are more in their feminine, but more than often through many, many things, most of the collective is in the masculine. So it's in the doing. I can do everything. I'm independent. Like it's this... no, I've got me, like, and it's a safety because if I've got me, you know, like it's very, it can show up in control. And I have been through periods of my life where I, with certain people was very controlling because I felt that that's how I had to show up to be safe. It was like the control created a container for me to feel safe within that because of trauma. And so I would very much show up in my masculine because that felt safer. And for me, the biggest healing was like letting go of that and going, no, actually. And to be fair, it was so strong in me that I went through 3 years of surrender in order to go, this is... I didn't even understand what the feminine looked like. I'd hear it and I'd be so triggered by it because my body wanted it. But I didn't understand it, that it took my personal physical body 3 years of letting go of everything so that I could find out I was enough as I was, be more in my feminine, probably out of balance more so in my feminine, to then coming back around and going, okay, now we're going to bring in a balance here between both of them. You already know how to be masculine. You're doing it in a wounded way. And now you've witnessed the feminine. You don't want to let that go because you see the beauty that brings into your life. How can you come into divine union of them both?
Yeah, beautiful. So letting go of some of the old masculine traits of control, doing too much. And so in your experience of bringing the feminine more back into balance, what's your favorite aspect of that been?
What's my favorite aspect of the feminine?
Bringing the feminine back into balance.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, personally, I feel like I'm still working on the balance. So I could speak into the feminine on its own and I can kind of speak into the masculine on its own, but actually bringing them together is a day-to-day process for me still. So I will like go into my day and then I will go, oh, I'm doing it again. Like I'm in my masculine. And so... But because I have the awareness and I have so much understanding about that pattern that shows up in me now, I can catch it in the moment and redirect. And I think what that kind of looks like for me is I feel like it's it feels like surrender to me when I'm when I have my feminine in balance. It feels like I don't have to know everything. I don't have to do everything. It almost gives me like a permission slip to, oh no, hang on. It's actually coming to me now. Hang on. There is something that I know about this that I want to say. It's trust. It's trust. I have so much trust when they're in balance. I trust everything that comes at me in life. There's no need to protect. There's no need to create like safety here because I've got me, because I am integrated in both of those things. And I feel like, thank you for bringing that to me because that's like a aha moment for me, that I was saying that I'm in the learning, but actually waking up with trust is the divine masculine holding me and the feminine going, I got you, let's go. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah. And so with that trust, that oh my goodness, that is what I don't think I know anyone that's not working on trust in some way, shape or form. But when we have that trust within self, like what's the vision? Where can this take you from here? Like teamed with your passion. So you've got this ultimate self-trust teamed with your passion. What's the greater vision?
What I know what the greater vision of that is, it's actually so expansive I can't reach it within my capability of my mind right now, because I'm willing to explore whatever because the trust is there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I thought something wasn't possible, now I trust that I can lean into any situation, no matter what it is, and it's always going to bring me forward in life. It's always going to create everything I need in that moment.
Like you can't get it wrong.
I can't get it wrong. Like
there is no
that's
wrong.
the permission. Like it's like, permission to just, even if I do get it wrong, what is wrong? There actually is no wrong and right anywhere. It's like it's a certainty of I'm going to be on my path regardless. I can't fuck this up. Excuse my French. I can't get this wrong.
Yeah.
Like I fully trust myself enough that any situation I'm capable of handling, any direction I want to go in life, I have the ability to move through whatever that is. So like, for example, public speaking, like the fact that I'm talking on a mic today, like used to bring up crippling fear in me of allowing my voice to be heard, like even thinking that this could go out to anyone, like I cared about that stuff. I don't anymore, because I know whatever it brings to me, if there are people that get triggered or if there is judgment out there, it doesn't matter because I've got me. I can handle any situation. So the sky really is the limit as to, in a vision, where this could take me. There is no end to where this could take me. There is no cap.
Yeah, and trust is such a beautiful and so on point word to use for anyone in your life. And because I value the trust that I can have within myself being in a friendship with you. You are the ultimate definition of someone that you can trust.
Yeah.
Because I know I can't get it wrong with you. I can, as long as I'm being authentic to me, I can bring anything to you. And even if we wobble our way through it, we will communicate, because we both trust the love and who each other are and who we know is our core values and all of the things. And when you have trust within self and then trust within special people in your life, literally there is sky and beyond is the limit. There is no limit, because I'm excited
and
about
you know
this.
I have to say this is really coming through strong. In order to get to that level of trust, it does require being self-accountable for yourself. And so in order to find that trust within yourself and then have the ripple effect of then seeing people in your outer reality, reflecting that back, in order to have that, there is a conscious understanding of everything is for me. Everything I'm creating out there is something going on in here. So it's actually like a gift when we do wobble, because it allows us to see further into ourselves. And so because we both, you and I, absolutely can be accountable for ourselves, there's like, we can't get it wrong, like, because we both have that. However, as a collective, like not everybody's there yet where they realize that. And I think that will grow over time for sure. I definitely think we're on the path to that, but I don't think it's, we're quite there yet with that. But again, I have like, this is the sisterhood thing, because typically, you know, going back in generations, it has been sisterhood wounds, not men wounds or brotherhood wounds as much. It's been sisterhood wounds, whether we've been male or female in past lifetimes. And so I feel like creating this within like a sisterhood realm within each other, I feel like it's healing the planet. I feel like, because if nothing is outside of me and we are one, and I am the consciousness of everybody, then nobody outside of me can show up in a way that I'm not able to self-reflect back into myself, and then also have the ability to go, oh, okay, that's your stuff. Like, I don't need to take that part on, but this was for me. Thank you. I think I'm trying to get to is, in the process of understanding this passion and desire to create more environments where we can absolutely just be all of ourselves, which is what I believe to be true freedom in this lifetime, is to show up in our exact unique blueprint, which is the opposite of what we've been conditioned to do, and know that we're completely safe with another human being in doing that. That is the goal for this planet. And I think that's why I'm on this path of it. And it might show up outside of sisterhood at some point, but right now that's where my highest excitement and joy is taking me. But I do say with I don't want to say warning because that sounds so, but with caution, not everybody's a safe place to do that. And I think that it's really important to build that trust with people.
100%. What I've experienced of you is unconditional love. That's one word or couple of words that I would use to describe you, as unconditional love. And when I say that, what I've experienced, privilege of experience, is that I know that I can show up and you will, whether it's being direct, whether I need a little bit of a wake-up call, you'll deliver it, whether it's nurturing and loving and helping me remember who I am, that's what you deliver. And in each moment it looks different. So unconditional love, I think you have got down pat. It's your genius, but it doesn't always look the same, right? It's not always peaches and roses. And that's what I absolutely respect and adore, is that I know I can trust, again, that word, that when I come to you, you will reflect perfectly what I need to do to love myself. And that is what a gift you are to this earth, because of the work that you've done on yourself. Do I believe we come in as infants like that? 100%. Well, I believe that they're born, unconditional love. But our conditioning and your experience as a childhood, like you spoke a little into, it wasn't necessarily always that, right? So we become these versions of ourselves that maybe society likes, but we don't like as much. And then, but kudos to you. You've gone, I want growth and expansion. I know there's more. I want to find myself. You've done the work. And it is work. We do have to really get solid. And with unconditional love for yourself and others, have got yourself to this place. And I'm so beyond proud to sit here, be co-creating this amazing information for people, right? Sharing this friendship, sharing life, having the chats about parenthood and motherhood and sisterhood and all the things, because I just want to celebrate you, everything that you are and everything that you have achieved, because it's absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And we haven't even touched on, your spiritual abilities, and that in itself is a whole nother range of gifts, because what you can do for the planet and do in your healing space and through K&K Illuminating Light and your family and your everyday life is incredible. I would love if you could give the people that are listening a little bit of a picture of what I'm talking about when I say you have spiritual gifts.
Well, I actually love that this question has come up at this point in my life, because in the last month, so I've always been, I think that the way that I've heard it framed is the veil of which, when we come in and we forget who we are and our gifts and all of it, is put over us, so that then we spend our human existence rediscovering who we are and finding who that is. My veil was a bit thinner than others. And so I've always been aware of my spirituality, and that was going to be something that had like a big impact in my life, I guess. But what I'm starting to realize now, like specifically like in the last month, is there's actually no gift that we can't do. You, them. Like we actually, like I'm just accessing the library of gifts. So I actually don't think that there is a limit anymore to what our spiritual capabilities are. Of course, we've built muscles in certain ones. I definitely have. And I feel familiar with that. But so many new ones have been coming on board in this last month that I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Oh, yeah, right, I can do that too. Oh. And then I'm like, it feels infinite. And I actually believe we all have the capability to access that library. So if you had have asked me this 4 weeks ago, or maybe 2 months ago, I don't know, around that, I probably would have said, well, I do this and I do this. And I probably maybe would have had a list of, I don't know, 5 to 10 things that I would have told you. But I can't actually, like, I mean, I can talk about that if you'd like me to talk about something that I have really anchored in this lifetime, but I actually just think that the gift of communicating this for everybody else, I feel like it stops us from labels. I don't like labels of like, oh, well, it takes the ego away, right? Like I'm not special and I'm so fucking special.
Yeah.
You're not special, but you're so fucking special. Like I think it brings us to a point of we have access to everything.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you, with that can get really fun playing in the ether, right? We have access to everything. How do you balance that into day-to-day life in society where it is denser? How do you bring those gifts, anchor it into day-to-day life?
So what you're asking, I'm just clarifying here, is like within myself or in my healing business?
Well, no, just within day-to-day life.
Okay.
Like you having the expansion that you have access to even in your dream state, all the things,
Yeah.
right? How do you anchor it? How do you
Well,
live it?
anchoring it is, I'm so bad with remembering sayings, but there's a perfect saying out there, is like, it's something along the lines of you can get the information, but unless you're actually embodying that information, then you've just gone and watched a movie and you've shut the door at the end of it. So for me, I get information and then I go, oh, okay, how can I embody that into my day-to-day life? Or how can I embody that just internally? Like whatever it is, like that, and it can be different in many moments. But for example, one of the gifts that I think is absolutely powerful is inner child healing. And I took solitude earlier on in this year, and in that time it dropped into me like I guess a practice. Like, well, I see visually, like I have a lot of visual visions, and so I seen myself taking people through inner child healing, and it was like there is no right or wrong way about doing anything, but this process for some reason is immediate. Like it doesn't have to be worked out, or which I love solving puzzles, so there's nothing wrong with that. But in some instances, I think we need immediate change. And so that had popped in. So then I take that into I know that I have that ability or that gift. And so sometimes when things come up in me, I'll be like, oh, that's my inner child. Cool. Then I'll take myself through the practice. So that's how I kind of become an embodiment of it. So I've got the vision, I've seen it happen. And then I think we were catching up and I was like, hey, can I do something on you? Like, you want to be my dummy?
There's the trust.
And then we both received through that transmission that I was able to do. And I was like, wow, I love this. Like, this brings me joy, like being able to do this for people. And then, so I use that for myself. Or, you know, like if I'm having communication with people, I can, because I'm an embodiment of understanding that now and understanding that gift can be very potent, but it's not always the Band-Aid to fix the problem. I am more highly attuned in my day-to-day life to be like, oh, there's something here in your inner child, or, oh, there's something here in my inner child. Like, so I guess that would be...
Yeah, and so what are some of the results that you have found from doing that inner child work?
wow, you can't know what your younger self thought about that situation. You can only act upon right now in this moment what consciously is going on in your mind. So if you dropped a toy on the floor right now, that would not rock your body. You'd be like, pick the toy up, because consciously that's how you'd handle the situation now. However, as a child, that toy could have been their everything. It was it could have been the most stable thing that they've had in their life. And it's got dropped and lost or whatever. The garbage man's picked it up, and, you know, that can create. So going back to the neurology of the child and understanding it from their perspective allows you, through this experience, to now mother yourself with the words that child needs to hear. And so I look at it as an iceberg, and we are, like, in this part of the iceberg, we're aware consciously of, like, oh, I remember feeling really sad about that teddy that dropped on the floor. I'm totally making this story up, by the way. You know, like, we're consciously aware of that. But what we're in our subconscious unaware of is how deeply it actually affected us, because it wouldn't make sense to us now. And so going back in that moment to and actually accessing, because everything, if we don't believe in time, and if we know that we exist outside of time, we can go back to that very moment and actually hear from the subconscious, the inner child, and ask them what they need and give it to them and support them and love them. Because what's actually then going on is internally in us. If you were to have a ruler and you could put a picture of your face at every age, you're actually going back internally to that moment and healing it within now, right now.
Like timeline therapy, hey?
Yeah, it collapses time. Time does not exist when you're doing this transmission. And it's, for me, that's so powerful, because it doesn't have to show up again. It can be healed in that moment and done. And I think when someone is ready to have it happen that quick, that's when I'm like, oh, I know what you need. It's this.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So that as an adult, if we have the equivalent of dropping our teddy on the ground, we're not going to feel like the inner tantrum or what have you, because you've already changed that in that.
Well, yeah, like something might happen in our reality, and I might be like, oh man, I'm in something right now. Like, I just feel like I'm having a tantrum. That sometimes can be a reflection of your inner child in there going, you haven't healed me.
Your stability isn't there. It's broken, right?
You've gone back to that neurological age, but it doesn't make sense to you. So you'll be going, I don't know why I'm in a funk today, but something's really triggered me and I'm feeling this way. And it could be just that younger self of yours is saying, this is still here. Like, look at me.
Yeah. So that's one tiny glimpse into some of the amazing abilities that you have. But for time's sake today, and for the suspense of allowing it to unfold over many, many more episodes, we'll leave it there. But I am beyond excited for everybody to just have a snippet into Katrina McKechnie today and get excited for the rest that's to come, because we have endless conversations that no doubt will come, and we just work on themes. So Katrina today spoke a lot about her today's passion of balance, but I reckon every week we're passionate about
something.
Equally passionate about something else that's relevant for every single person, whether you are male, female, 4 or 80, listening to this podcast. There will be relevance in this for everybody, because we are passionate about taking our spirituality and really grounding it into day-to-day life, into the society, challenges that we all face where we're a little bit out of balance or off course or not being ourselves, not having authenticity. So these are the things that we kind of have made our life's work to work on. Within self, and then get to have the ripple effect and teach others through our own experiences. But thank you so much for giving us some beautiful more insight into you, and super excited to keep this journey going and seeing what unfolds. So thank you.
I would like to say thank you also for navigating me through my first interview.
Yay.
That was really fun. And there was one last piece that I really feel is important to say to end on. And that is, if you are listening to this or you're sitting here watching the recording of this, in no way, shape or form does this ability that I have, or does this, the way that you see me show up and communicate and all the rest of it, in no way, shape or form does that void me of the human experience. I still go through many depths in order to experience many highs. And I have just learnt how to navigate them differently to how I used to. And I think that that's important to know, because there is no end game on this. And I think like we can relax a bit when we know that there is no, if I just do this, then I won't have to deal with this in my reality anymore, because we're here to experience growth. And I absolutely move through growth too. Like you've just heard a massive highlight reel of mine, but I am processing through the human experience just like everybody else. So yeah, I think that was really important.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't actually, we know the depths, right? We have to explore, we're here for it all, the polarity of both. Yeah. So the more heightened you get, sometimes we do have to go into more depth, which can be, like you so beautifully showcased, in a child trauma even. Yep. So yeah, we don't bypass that.
No.
In order to get to the highlight, we absolutely do have to go to the polarity. And I think that everybody, as they get to know us, will experience that through, because we will have our high weeks and our low weeks. And we are, and I love this, I'm proud, we are both very transparent people. Yep. We open books.
Yep.
I have my messy days, my crazy days, my sad days, my happy days, all of it, and as do you. And I think it is important. So thank you for going there. It is so important to show people that we are all of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for listening. It has been an honor to share this space with you and you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Mandorla. We want to acknowledge your contribution in the co-creation of our new evolved world.
Sending you all so much love, and until next time, remember, you are the creator.